Today's lesson is all about roasting, and I'm starting with the classic rack of lamb. Coated with a flavorful breadcrumb mixture, this dish can be made just for two or for a dinner party. Next, have you ever roasted a whole fish? This salt-roasted striped bass is a showstopper and delicious. Chicken wings are a favorite for game day, and this recipe has a special ingredient that your family will love. And last, a squash that, when roasted, looks just like spaghetti. A roasted rack of lamb is the ideal choice when you want to impress friends at your next dinner party. Searing the meat first caramelizes the exterior, and then roasting in the oven guarantees that the interior will be flavorful and incredibly juicy. Now, when buying a rack of lamb, specify that you want the rack cut from the loin end. This is the meatiest part of the rack of lamb, and where the eye, this is called the eye, is the largest. Check that the meat is deep red in color and with a firm, fine-grained texture, and that the fat is pearly white, just like this. Now, this is called the shine bone. If you don't remove that or have it removed, and it's much easier if somebody else does this at the butcher shop, it will make carving almost impossible. Now, this has to be taken off at the butcher with a bandsaw, and this is what it looks like when it is removed. Look how neat and clean this rack of lamb is. This comes from the same butcher shop, and a full rack of lamb has 8 ribs for 4. Each rib consists of a nugget called the eye. This is the eye of the meat, and this is what you love to eat. It's so good. And this is the arching rib bone. Now, you can just roast it like this, but it doesn't look so pretty. A method called Frenching takes away all this between the ribs. It's fat, it's grizzle, and actually a little tiny bit of meat. And this is called Frenching. It's not too hard to do. Your butcher can do it for you, but you can also do it yourself at home. And this will delineate each rib and make a very much prettier presentation. You'll see when it comes out of the oven what a gorgeous, gorgeous presentation it makes. And these are individual, so then when you're carving, you're going to carve right between each rib, making a very nice nugget of meat. And now the Frenching looks done, but it is not done, because you still have to clean each of those bones. And I find the easiest way to do that is, well, first of all, cut this way to get rid of the fat. Take that fat off the top of the bone. See how much more comes off? You think it's done, but it's not. Now that the bones are all clean, the lamb is ready to brown. So rub some salt into the meat and some ground pepper. On both sides. Okay, so right into hot olive oil. Now, while it's browning, you can prepare the breadcrumb coating. Rather than the more traditional mustard and herb crust, this rack is coated with yogurt, which adds a subtle flavor and tang to the rack. So in a blender, put 3/4 of a cup of parsley, a 1/2 cup of mint leaves, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs, and the zest of 1 lemon. And that goes right into the blender jar. And 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. Watch your lamb. It's already getting a very, very nice color. Yes. Okay, so just quickly pulse this. Okay, that should be enough. So now scrape this out into your bowl, and it's ready to coat the rack of lamb. So tasty. Okay, so our lamb is pretty brown. Very nice. So now, this is rested for 10 minutes. 1 tablespoon, a big tablespoon of yogurt. Don't use blueberry, strawberry, or peach. Use plain yogurt. I like the nice, thick Greek-style yogurt, unflavored. You can use low-fat, regular, it doesn't matter. But this is only to help the breadcrumb mixture adhere to the lamb. Very tasty and pretty. And now pack on that beautiful green, breadcrumby, herby, olive oily mixture. So there, doesn't that look delicious? So now put this in your 400-degree preheated oven and roast until an instant read thermometer registers 125 degrees, but that should take anywhere from 18 to 24 minutes. Set your timer. Well, here it is, fresh out of the oven. It has to rest for approximately 10 minutes, just so that the juices stay in the meat when you carve. Remove this very carefully after 10 minutes to a carving board and slice into individual chops. This is very, very pretty, and you can arrange it on a tray, all the different chops, right on a tray. It should slice nicely right through. Beautiful. The meat is perfectly cooked. Look at the pretty color. The crust adheres nicely to the meat. Garnish with fresh mint and serve with my favorite, mint jelly. Now I would serve rack of lamb like this with scalloped potatoes, with a puree of butternut squash, with some green vegetable. But whichever way you intend to serve it, your guests and your family will love it. The Spanish technique of roasting a fish in a thick layer of salt is not only theatrical, it's also going to give you a perfectly cooked fish. The salt insulates the food, cooking it gently and evenly, and it imparts a subtle seasoning. If you're looking for a new way to roast fish and to present fish at the table, this is it. In the bowl of your electric mixer, beat 6 egg whites until they are sort of fluffy and form soft peaks. Then remove the bowl off the mixer and fold in 3 cups. It's a lot of salt, of coarse salt. Kosher salt is perfect for this job. And so what you're doing is making your salt coating. Now we've chosen for this particular lesson a black bass. This bass is found in waters from Maine all the way down to the Florida Keys. It has prickly fins, which you're going to remove, as I am doing, with a pair of kitchen shears. Make sure that the scales have been removed by your fishmonger or your fisherman, whoever gives you this fish. That's the dorsal fin, and you have the fins which are on the bottom part of the fish. These are very sharp, and be careful not to cut yourself. And also these side fins should be removed. And these fins at the bottom. And leave the tail fin on. It looks pretty when it comes out of the oven. So, oh, here's one more side fin that has to be removed. Okay, done. Very easy. Head on, very important. Now on a parchment-covered baking sheet, good to use parchment. This is very, very good material to bake on. Put an amount of this salt that looks sort of like a fish. You're just going to rest this fish in this base. So the whole fish, except for the tail, is covered in the salt crust. Now cut this fish open a little bit more, like this, and so that you can put some lemons and some thyme and a little bit of salt and pepper in the cavity. It's a very beautiful, very fresh fish. A little bit more pepper than salt, and we have some lemons. Just put the lemon slices inside the fish. This will add flavor, a little additional flavor, and some thyme sprigs inside the fish. And then put your fish right on the little crust. You can put lemons on top of the fish like this for more flavor and a little bit more thyme. Spread the tail so it's pretty. Everything is right on. And then now cover with the rest of your crust. You want to make it an even thickness. The fish will be insulated by this crust. It will maintain all of its beautiful moisture. The moisture kind of rises into the crust and steams the fish. And now smooth this out. So that goes right into a 400-degree preheated oven and bake for 35 minutes. So this is the fun part, releasing the fish from its salty crust. It breaks right off. It's like a meringue. And it reveals, as you remove it, the really beautiful moist fish underneath. This looks very good. Really gently push the crust away. And hopefully we'll be able to lift the fish. And amazingly, this salt crust does not really make the fish overly salty. And so now just lift the fish carefully, like that. Now that's perfect. Discard all of this. And remove the skin from this very perfectly cooked fish. It really is perfectly cooked. It smells delicious. This looks so good. The fish itself, as I said, is moist and tender. That's why you like the black bass. So we're going to lift this fillet right off the bone. Use this nice flexible fish spatula. There. Get rid of the lemon and remove this right to a platter. And here is the other side, which is very nice too. And because it was sitting on the bottom, it's a little bit more cooked than the top. So now again, this is that fish spatula that's so invaluable. Lift this off the backbone in one piece if you can. There it comes. Lovely. So good. And garnish with fresh thyme, some lovely wedges of lemon. I would serve this with maybe roasted potatoes. And right before serving, a sprinkling of black pepper and a good sprinkling of best olive oil. And there you have salt roasted black bass. It is really good. And the method really does work. It makes a moist and flavorful fish. I hope you've had as much fun watching this process as I've had making it. During last year's Super Bowl, over 1 billion, actually 1.25 billion chicken wings were eaten. Today I'm sharing my favorite recipe that's made with saffron and lemon, and the wings are roasted until they're brown and crispy. You'll be eating lots of these wings at the big game this year. So to 2 tablespoons of olive oil, add 2 tablespoons of butter. You're going to brush this on the chicken wings and add about 1/4 teaspoon or more, if you have it, of saffron. Saffron has a delicate, earthy, bittersweet flavor with reddish yellow color and a very nice, I think, like a hay-like aroma. And if you heat it up like this in the oil, it will start to impart its beautiful orangey color to the oil. And add some lemon. All of this makes the chicken wings utterly delicious. This is a nice Meyer lemon. I love this. Very fragrant. So, salt and pepper your chicken wings. We're using 6 chicken wings for this particular recipe. And these are nice plump wings. This part is the drumette. Some people just cut it off here and make a little drumstick looking thing out of it. And this is called the wingette. Don't cut the wing tips off. These are really good to chew on, especially when you're in an exciting game and you're nervous about who's going to win. Sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper on your wings. Brush your mixture, your saffron mixture, on the wings. Already smells delicious. It's the saffron. Oh, saffron and chicken cooked in a hot oven. It's just something fantastic. Make sure you get a little bit of that saffron on each of the wings so you can see it. And now some salt. Salt's very important for this recipe. These are going to be turned over once or twice during cooking in a 450-degree oven. It's going to take about 35 minutes. When you turn them, you'll brush them again. Now, don't these look absolutely great? They're crispy, they're golden all over. They have that wonderful, wonderful color that only saffron can impart to the skin of a chicken. And they are delectable. So put these on a platter. Well, actually, this is my plate. I'll make more for you. The great thing about roasting chicken wings is that they're so versatile. You can add whatever spice or flavoring you like. But try this. I think you're going to really like it. And may the best team win. This is a spaghetti squash, once considered unfamiliar, but it's now becoming a staple in many kitchens. Its unique flesh, when cooked, is sweet and nutty and separates into spaghetti-like strands. It's one of the simplest vegetables to roast, and it looks like magic. Watch. The medium-sized cylindrical-shaped squash, called spaghetti squash, can be yellow-skinned, cream-skinned, or tan-skinned, and can range anywhere from 2 pounds to 8 pounds in weight. The peak season for spaghetti squash is early fall through winter. And I'm going to roast this today. We're going to cut the squash in half. It's a little hard to do, so use a very sharp chef's knife and go through the skin. I find resting it on a cloth like this really helps. And then go in the opposite direction. Oops, it worked. There. Now there are seeds inside a spaghetti squash. And so with a spoon, you can just scrape out. It's like the inside of a pumpkin. Take out all the fibers, not all of them, because some of them might be attached to the spaghetti-like fibers, which will emerge when cooked. You can roast the seeds just as you would a pumpkin seed. They're nice. And this squash is served in lots of vegan restaurants as a substitute for pasta. So now for roasting, Preheat your oven to 425 degrees. And you're going to now sprinkle olive oil all over the cut side and sprinkle it with salt and pepper inside. You could, if you like garlic, rub it with garlic. You could roast a few cloves of garlic underneath the cut halves if you like. But I'm cooking it on parchment paper. This both makes cleanup a lot easier and also keeps the flesh from touching any metal during cooking. And a little bit of salt on the outside too. Okay, ready to pop into the oven. 425. And you cook it until it is tender. That's going to take about 1 hour. You can pierce the skin with the point of a sharp knife. So you see how nicely this breaks up into this beautiful spaghetti-like fiber. And just scrape it out. No clumps allowed. It really is like magic. Now this we're going to toss with some delicious flavorings. So into this very, very beautiful fibrous squash, add about a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, some black pepper, quarter of a teaspoon, about a half a teaspoon of salt, the juice of half a lemon. You're treating this just as you would, a very simple pasta. Lemon juice just adds a nice brightness to the squash. Half a cup of parsley. You could use basil if you like. You could use chervil. Lightly toss this. Don't mush it because you don't want to break those fibers or mush the fibers. This is light and fluffy. A little bit of olive oil. Not too much. And a generous sprinkling of Parmesan cheese. If the squash is still nice and warm, this will kind of melt into the squash. Now, I love this with ricotta cheese. I love it with pieces of mozzarella cheese so that they'll melt into the hot fibers. Many, many different things can be used to enhance the flavor of spaghetti squash. So this is enough for, I would say, 3 generous servings. Serve it as you would a lovely pasta dish. A little bit more cheese on top. And a tiny bit more oil. And there you have an unusual and tasty and beautiful fake pasta dish. I hope you learned something new today about roasting. And don't forget to tune in to the next episode of Cooking School. I'll see you then. Drizzle a roasting pan with olive oil. Place your pork roast in the center and season with coarse salt and pepper. Roast at 475 degrees for 15 minutes. Quarter 6 apples and add to 3 sweet potatoes cut into wedges. Drizzle with olive oil and toss to coat. Arrange around the pork and roast 20 minutes more. A satisfying meal in one pan.